This is Fortnite running on a 3.6 gigahertz Intel Core i7-4790 with 16 gigs of RAM and an 8 gig AMD Radeon RX 580 video card. Currently, I do have the settings turned all the way down, except it's running at 1080p resolution and 3D resolution is max, and the view distance is set on epic. Everything else is turned all the way down. So we are going to take a look at how this runs. I'm also going to do some video at the end of this. It's going to cut away to another video that's going to give a little bit of a kind of almost a mini review of my own build that I did here. It seems like people are a little bit more curious about the hardware itself lately, so if you want to stay tuned to that at the end, that'll give you a little bit more insight into the system, and I may go over a few specific parts, manufacturer parts, why I chose things, stuff like that. So stay tuned for that, but let's kill the mic here and see how this runs. Okay, so that should give you guys a good idea of how Fortnite runs on the i7-4790 with 16 gigs and the AMD RX 580 8 gig card. Hope everybody finds this interesting and informative, and stay tuned. Just a second, this will cut away, and I will go over some of the hardware specifics on this system. Anyway, hope everybody finds this enjoyable. Thanks for sticking around, guys, to check out this build that I did today. So this is the build that I just ran Fortnite on. This is my... usually I've been actually only averaging about one of these a week, so depending on... Assuming my buyer comes through tomorrow, this is going to be the build of the day for Saturday. If my buyer ends up backing out on this one, this will end up being the build of the week, in which case you will see more game demo videos from this build. But assuming this sale goes down tomorrow, we're probably just going to do Fortnite on this. My real goal is just to make sure that there's no critical problems with the machine. So we're going to go over some parts selection on this and just what I built here. So obviously the outside of the box, this is a Metal Gear Air Neo. It's kind of a weird brand. I guess it's branded as being powered by Fantex. I'm gonna guess that means it's some sort of offshoot. Maybe it's like designed by Fantex, but it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe they wanted to build the thing and it didn't quite match their normal aesthetic, so they did it under a different brand. I don't know. I'm not sure what this is, but it's a decent case. It's a mesh front. It's got two RGB fans on the front. Unfortunately, they can't do kind of the breathing style thing, but you can do this. Gonna let me do it? There we go. Okay. So we can do color changing. It's got a button right on the front here. You can color change. I think it's got, let's see, purple. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 color options. I kind of liked the green. I've always liked the way green looks. Kind of has that. It's a kind of it's a strong color. It's got that board look to it, you know. This is tempered glass. It's a low-end tempered glass case, but it is tempered glass. Attached same way you normally see standard mid-range, low to mid-range cases. It doesn't have a hinge, but it's just the standard screw-on style. So let's pop this open here. Take that off and get a look at what I built on the inside. So this one, I do have the fans running at full speed. I've been finding, I used to try to shoot for low noise, but I've been finding most of my buyers prefer enhanced cooling versus better noise options. Let's see if I can. Actually, let's shut this off. I originally left it on so you could see the colors on the RGB, but let's turn this off so I can unplug it and get it kind of better in view of the camera. Should shut off here in just a sec. Okay, there we go. So, let's see if I can get this. There we go. Sound better? It's gonna let me do it. Let's get the light pointing on there. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Do it without my camera disconnecting. Okay, so kind of see what I got going on here. So with this build, so as listed on the video, this is a i7 4790, 16 gigs of DDR3 RAM with an 8 gig Radeon RX 580 video card. So most of the components in here were selected just because they're what I had on hand. Because most of these builds are parts obtained through, OfferUp, Craigslist, or even eBay in some cases. I'm really watching for deals. As most of us know, most of these, like this XFX card, for example, I've got an XFX on hand. I think I may have I don't know. I think I might have an MSI, and I think I might have a generic. As we all know, the actual performance difference between most of the individual parts, it's pretty rare to have more than, a 1, 2, 3% performance difference. So, it was just what I had on hand. These XFX, I think they call them Fat Boy or something. They seem to be one of the more common RX580s. I don't know if it's just, I don't know if they had a deal on them or what, but they seem to be the one that I see the most of for whatever reason. Although I'm not a huge fan of the design. I don't know. I wish it was longer. If a card's going to be this big, I think it looks better if it's longer, but I don't know. We all have our own aesthetic opinions. The motherboard's decent. It is a Z97 board. Low-end Z97, but it's going to be better than like an H, what do they call those? Oh gosh, the H. There's the B85, there's the Z97, Z87, and then I think there's like an H. I guess H97. I thought there was something lower end than that though. So this is going to be a little bit nicer of a board, a little bit better featured. The fan, the specific heatsink on this, I chose because it's what I had on hand. Although, as generic as it looks, it's actually halfway decent. It's got a really big copper plate underneath there, so all you can really see is the aluminum on it, but there's a huge copper plate underneath that thing. Probably a solid, I don't know, several millimeters thick, maybe 3 or 4 millimeters thick, something like that, like big, like that big around by like that thick underneath there, which is a little unusual. And it covers almost the entire, if not the entire CPU with copper, which the Intel generic ones don't even cover the whole CPU with the copper, so it definitely is better cooling than the Intel. You can't see it in this photo because it's buried in this area underneath here, but I did use a 800 watt Thermaltake power supply, so plenty of power to power this system. And as you can see, the video card only uses one of the 8-pin strands, which I think this has 2 strands of. It's got one strand of, it's got 2 strands. Each strand has 1 8 in the form of a 6+2, and then one has a, and then they each have a 6-pin. So this is kind of like, I'm trying to think, like NZXT? Was that like the H440? That type thing, where they've got that shroud over the power supply. Kind of a cool, clean look. I don't know. I kind of feel like, I know some people like that. I kind of like the power supply bay being open just because, for the same reason, I don't like using small, like, say, micro ATX or mini ITX boards in a case like this, because a small board in a case big enough for a larger board tends to look bad. I tend to like to see that area. It makes the case look bigger. I guess your main reason for doing that is probably, to make it so you can shrink the tempered glass, which obviously having a smaller tempered glass panel means it costs less and you can price the case less, but whatever. Fan on the back, I did change that out. It had some generic fan. The only two that were RGB were the two fronts. That had some generic fan. I changed that over to a Corsair just because I wanted a little bit more air sucked out. RAM is pretty generic. What else is worth going over here? There's not really anything else worth going over. It's a pretty simple build. But again, people always seem to be curious about this stuff. I don't know how well you can see in this, but I did do a very clean cable management job. There's very little visible cables. And actually, let me show one other thing here. Let me see if I can pull the back open here. I do very, very in-depth cable management on the backs of my cases as well. I'm a big fan of stuff not looking like crap. I can do this without pulling these all the way out. So, as you can see, fairly minimalist. Let me get the camera. Yeah, fairly minimalist on my cable management. It's I guess it could have been a little cleaner, but it's one of the cleaner builds you're going to see around. So, the case does have this plate on the back. I thought it was 2 actually. It looks like it's 3 2.5s. Obviously, you're going to usually put SSDs here. I guess if you have 2.5, say 2 terabyte drives, you can certainly use those. But mainly, you're going to put SSDs there. And then it has standard 2 3.5s right here, which are accessed through the front when you take this front panel cover off. And then we have our power supply that slots in right there. Anyway, I hope this kind of gives people an interesting look at some of the hardware side of this. And again, thanks for watching the video. Hope everybody finds it interesting.